afternoon. Hi, hello, what's up, and what's happening? This is Money Green with my homegirl,
Shayz on the mic.
and we are Lyrics and Lies. Catch us on YouTube at symbol Lyrics and Lies, or at Between My Sheets, or at Shayz on the mic, and y'all will find us.
Are we doing lyrics or lies today?
We are doing a lot of both. And this is a touching topic. Common, the rapper Common, came out with a book. And in it, among other things, he talks about how he was molested as a child. And he never said anything, and he never thought to say anything. And something came up recently that brought it back to the surface of his mind, and he just began talking about it.
He was in a movie.
Okay, he was in the movie, and something within that movie made it come to surface. And my question is, what is the deal when it comes to men being molested? How come men do not, or boys, young men, whatever, and men, we're gonna take it from there. Boys, young men, and men, how come they do not talk about molestation, and how come they don't talk about being raped? And we're taking it further than molestation. We're gonna go all the way into rape. But how come men don't talk about that? That's what I want to talk about, because that can be real heartbreaking, and it seems that Common coming out and talking about it. Did you hear about it?
Yeah, I saw it on the show, The Breakfast Club.
So I assume it was molested by a man.
Yes, and I think when it comes to molestation by a man,
Right.
it's a different scenario than when Charlemagne the God was by a woman.
Right. So it seems that it's molestation when it's a man to a man. And we're talking about from a male POV, a male's perspective. It's molestation when it's a man doing it. But if it were a woman doing it, it would be, I was touched or fondled or something. But the words seem to come out a little differently. And maybe that's a ego thing, machismo thing.
It could be, and because it was talked about among them too, and I'm gonna use Charlemagne because he also talked about it. But see, in his situation, he said he liked it, he enjoyed it because it was coming from a woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you can say that because it was coming from the sex that you think it should come from, but it was still wrong in the sense that you're a child and this is a grown woman who should not be touching you in that way. So at the time, he didn't see it as being wrong. Inside, he knew it was wrong, but he didn't see it as being as wrong as if a man molested another man.
And he probably didn't think it was as wrong.
Because it was a woman.
Right. But he probably only thought it was wrong because of her age compared to his age. I don't know how to word that, but I think a lot of males, when it comes from a woman, if they welcome it, it's fine. When in all actuality, it's still molestation,
it's
or
wrong.
Still rape, or still statutory rape.
Mm-hmm.
But now male mind is gonna be, yeah, I was with an older woman,
Mm-hmm.
or I had sex for the first time, or I did this, or she was all over me. Even if they're 8, 9, 10 years old, you never know how that individual child is gonna take it. But if they welcome it and it feels good, a male may react totally different than a woman. And you also, in comparison with women, there may be a lot more pain involved if it's a woman than when it's a boy. So that could be another reason why boys and young men and men wouldn't report anything.
Well, I think, my opinion, I think the reason why men don't report men, because first of all, it's shocking to them. They don't understand what just happened. And it's a masculinity thing, you know, and you don't know once you tell somebody this happened to you, and now you're telling it's the same sex person doing this to you, that makes you feel some kind of way as a man, like it's demasculating. That's what it does to another person, especially if the person who did this to you is that a figure to you that's been in your life and around you, and then all of a sudden you thought this was a safe place, but now it's not a safe place because of what you just been violated by somebody. The betrayal, and that this person do. That's a lot to kind of take in and to think about, and to as a little boy, depending on how old you are, that's a lot to take in. And then you emotionally, it's frustrating, and how to deal with it, because you don't know how to deal with that. Iyanla said something, and I know I'll be quoting a lot of people, y'all, because I look at a lot of TV. She said something today, because I was looking at her on The Breakfast Club. She was saying it's really hard for men to get in touch with their feelings and how they feel, and to break it down, because they don't know how to express it, especially to a woman. Like when she's on the show and she, tries to break down what's going on with the person, and when you hit the core, that's when they get defensive. That's when they get mad, because now you got to get in touch with these feelings that you never felt before.
Who said this?
Iyanla. Am I saying her name right?
Yeah, that's close enough. So we're forced to confront emotions that we don't want to confront,
and then we don't know how to handle.
Well, men or boys.
Men. We're talking about men and boys.
And this is, I guess, a segue into men and boys being raised to be masculine, not to cry. Man up.
Yep.
Hit them back. Keep it to yourself. Don't say nothing. You're a man, so deal with it. Toughen up.
That's what she said.
All those things that
you're told.
We hear growing up. So I actually had to check myself, because my son is 9. I know he was 8. I made the statement, and some of these things I brush off, because this new Me Too atmosphere over the past, year or so, you hear a lot of things that they call, what's the term? The term will come to me later, but it's derogatory to say you're hitting like a girl, or stop whining like a girl, things like that. But that was a common statement growing up. Stop acting like a little girl. If you playing basketball and you snatch a basketball from somebody small, they say, stop. Hey, man, stop whining. Stop acting like a little girl. Shut up. That was bred into us. We were conditioned to think like that and say things like that. And I actually slipped up and said that to my son. And before this Me Too stuff, I wouldn't have said I slipped up and said it. It would just be something that I said. I'll stop whining like a little girl or something. But you can really damage. Of course, molestation can damage somebody, but you can damage a person's psyche even further if they can't talk about it when it happens, or if they retract or retreat into their shell and not say anything. So having open dialogue and really expressing yourself when something happens that's abusive, as far as molestation or what have you, that's the quickest way to healing. And I'm not gonna get into that, but anything else you want to share on that? I was about to say? No, I was gonna say thank goodness it never happened to me, because if there was something I wanted to say to build on to that, and I didn't want to go that far. But since you said it, I was gonna say I had a great childhood. Never had anything like that happen to me as far as being molested or being touched or anything. And I always want to protect my son from that. So certain atmospheres and environments I don't want him being a part of. at his age. And with that in mind, I want him to be on his guard and know how to identify certain things and know how to express himself, and then feel free enough to express himself to me if something were to happen or something was even close to happening. But it made me think when Common said that, would I admit to being raped? That's what I was thinking about, and that's what I want to get into toward the latter half of this conversation. But as a grown man, what would I do if I were raped? So I asked a few people this, and then I saw some other people responding on social media. But 99% of people said if they were locked up or if they were drugged and they ended up getting raped or whatever, 99.9% said they wouldn't tell anybody. They would just keep it a secret. They'd go to the grave with it.
Well, it's a lot of stigma on that a long time ago too. It depends on how long ago it happened and when it happened. I can fortunately say that my little brother and my son, which will be 17 next year, has not experienced that. But when we grew up, a lot of stuff wasn't talked about. Your parents didn't talk about certain things to you. They didn't really talk to you about sex. So if they ain't talking to you about that, they're not going to really talk to you about if something happens to you, or that might not have crossed their mind at that time. But I can say that I have. So when it happened, the first thing you say, and especially if it's somebody you know or a family member, the first thing they're going to say is, don't say anything because you're going to get in trouble. So I had a conversation with my son, because he's a male and this is happening to both sex.
Right.
So it doesn't matter who you are, that if someone touches you inappropriately or any kind of way, you will not be in trouble. You can come to me, and if the people say those 3 key words, that means they did something they're not supposed to do. You will not get in trouble. You will not be because see, that word that they use to manipulate you to think, oh, I'm gonna be quiet because I don't want to get in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble for this, even though I'm not the one who did it.
Yeah.
But I was there. I was in on it. Or now you feeling like you did have something to do with it because they said those 3 words to you. So it's a hard thing to go to your parent. And there are people who have on social media who have gone to a family member, and that family members told them, you don't know what you're talking about, that ain't happened.
That's common. Either they say it didn't happen, or they say it was your fault, or they say, okay, well, just don't say anything.
Don't say anything, which again pushes that down, so that when other things happen to you, what you do? You suppress all that.
Them. There you go.
You suppress all that. So what happens, like Common said, it comes out in other ways. It comes out violently. It comes out emotionally.
Being frustrated easily.
Be frustrated easily. And it could come out on us. Like, they always say that as black people, how we treat each other. But sometimes we treat each other a certain way because it's a familiarness. And it's not on purpose that I want to hit you, but you're the closest thing I can hit because I can't hit the person that really did something.
I don't know how to express.
And I don't know how to express myself other than this way. I feel like this way, if I do this will ease the pain. But guess what? You got to keep doing that.
Maybe feel better for the moment.
Because it's going to continue. That's why it's taboo for you to go to a psychiatrist or a counselor. That's taboo because we don't need to do that.
Well, it used to be. We're going to put that in the atmosphere.
It used to be, but now people are slowly starting to do that. But at one time, that was a no-no. You don't do that.
You better say something now. I'm telling y'all right now, if I get raped, I'm telling. Ain't gonna be no shit. That's gonna mess up all my cool stuff going on. Nah, I can't do it. I can't tell nobody. I'm still masculine. Y'all caught me slipping by putting heroin or whatever y'all did to me. I'm telling, and there's gonna be a couple other things to be told too. Put this Glock 40 in your ass, but it's gonna be a whole bunch of telling going on. There's gonna be me telling verbally. It's gonna be some shots telling in your frame, but yeah, I'm telling. I ain't holding nothing back either.
That's why it's very important for us to have the conversation. You need to have a conversation with your boys, your girls, about making sure that there's a clear communication between you and your child. You, not just your child, maybe your nieces and nephews or whoever, to let them know that when something happens to you, that when somebody touches you in a way that makes you feel a certain way that they're not supposed to touch you in, you need to tell somebody.
Now, what you just said is for, and I'm not saying you purposely did this, but your wording is for
boys,
children and boys.
Yeah, because we're talking about boys and men.
All right, but check this out. This happens to young men also. And a lot of people, and not you, but a lot of people made the mistake that molestation is only for kids, quote unquote, elementary school, 12 and under, when you're 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, all this kind of stuff. But you can be 14, 15, 16, you can be in high school.
You can be 50.
Well,
because
we simply talking about kids, but under 18. But you can, above 18 is just sexual harassment or sexual assault.
I don't feel like I'm talking to children, because I just told you I have a teenager.
No, not you. I'm saying that wording. When people hear that molestation, everything, they tend to think of 12 and under. But this happens a lot to teens, and that can just go from fondling. So if they have a family friend or an uncle or a stranger something and just gropes them or something, or grabs them by the neck and say, I got a gun, come here, whatever, and they do certain things, so it can actually happen to teenagers. Like on Ayanla, they were talking about one that was being molested into his teens. So he was 15, 16 years old, and it was still happening because he didn't know what to say. He knew if he said something, it would mess up the family dynamic. If he didn't say something, it was gonna keep happening. So he didn't know it was gonna, he didn't know how to express it or confront it. And now it's coming out years later. He's an adult and he's pissed off at everybody. So it goes into the teenage years often.
Yeah, it can. I mean, things, and sometimes it doesn't always have to be a one-on-one thing. Things can happen in the college level.
Yeah, that's sexual assault right there.
Sexual assault, but I'm saying these are the things that can happen where it starts at. Frat parties, things happen there. Yeah. I got a couple of people who have had stuff happen to them at frat party. Look what just happened in a high school. I think that's the Mathis, with the prank, or I don't know if you want to call it a prank, but it wasn't a prank, what they did to the boys in the locker room.
Right. Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? So that right there's a traumatic situation.
That doesn't make them gay.
No, it doesn't, because as you can see with Common, he said he didn't never think any kind of way or change how he felt about. But guess what? Everybody's situation is different.
And we're talking about the victims.
We're talking about the victims. Everybody's situation is different when you come out of a traumatic experience as that. So if that, I'm telling you, you need to tell somebody, you need to talk about it, and afterwards you're going to need counseling, because that's a lot. That's a lot to digest. That's a lot to take on. Like I said before, it's emotional, it's mental, and mental health is real, y'all. Mental health is real, and as you continue to keep suppressing all this stuff, that's when other things come out.
That's right.
Other things happen, other things trigger. Because you never expressed it, you never talked about it with anybody, and you never let anybody in. And that's going on a lot in our Black communities.
Well, I'm going to tell you this gay thing, and I'm calling it a gay thing because when I was in 4th grade...
Disclaimer.
No, you're safe on this one. I'm going to call this a gay thing because when I was in 4th grade is when I heard my first gay joke. This white friend named Steve, went to school in 4th grade. he said we are telling jokes, and then he looked at me, and he was quote unquote straight. I always say quote unquote because that's always been kind of weird to me. Straight, and what's the opposite of straight? It's supposed to be crooked, but anyway. He said, "Hey Marlon, if we went camping and you woke up with Vaseline in your underwear and in your butt cheeks, would you tell anybody?" And I've heard that, and I'm 10 years old, and my mind went through, configurated, and I'm like, no, I wouldn't tell nobody. And then he said, well, let's go camping. But that was
a joke.
Yeah, that was a gay joke, and everybody laughed. So then he would, ask other people, and then, the next person started asking other people, and I ain't asked nobody. I think I asked one person that back then. But that goes into the machismo. Basically, he just said, and this is a joke, of course, but basically he said, if you went camping and you were raped in your sleep, would you tell anybody? Basically, it was right there on the surface as a joke, but that's nothing to joke about. And of course, we 4th grade, you can't tell us that it's not anything to joke about. But that's serious as a man now. I think back at that same joke, and how would a person react to hearing that joke in the 4th grade compared to how they would react now? And that's some wild stuff. In any woman listening, men say some wild jokes, and I'm not sure what movie he got that from or what relative he got that from, but there are hundreds of jokes and little statements and silly things that boys do, and those things influence them as young men and adults. So there's a few little tidbits on that, but wow. I'm telling.
Yeah, and
I
think I'm happy that Common came on the show and talked about it, even though it was from a male, and he also said in his interview that didn't change his perspective of how he felt about women. It was almost like an isolated incident. It happened, and he acknowledged it. I think he's going to counseling himself now, and dealing with it. But it didn't change how he felt about women. It could change how he. It could also warn how he was treating women at the time when he was talking about how Michelle Obama gave him some advice. Now, even though sometimes things happen to you might not change one thing that you think is big, but it might change minor things on how you think of things, how you think about stuff. I don't know if you heard that part when he was saying that Michelle Obama gave him some pointers on dating.
About settling down.
And then he was talking about how when he was dating somebody, how he would give an excuse of, maybe it's me, it's not you.
He knew it was him.
It was him.
But he didn't want to settle down.
Yeah. So you never know, from that experience might have changed how he felt about certain viewpoints. We don't know. We don't know if he would have still felt that way if he didn't get molested. I don't know. I think that just because it didn't change his sexual preference doesn't mean it didn't weigh on something else in his life. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying even though when traumatic things happen to you, certain things that's obvious might not have changed, but some things that's under the radar might have changed how he felt about something, how he's more secure about certain things, how he feels about if he's too close to them. I mean, it could be a array of things. But my point is, even though it didn't change that perspective, it could have changed other things in how he related to women and relationships.
I think, outside looking in, I don't think it affected how he treated women. I think that Michelle Obama stuff and all that, I think people in Common's position have a lot of power and have a lot of beautiful women coming at them, so they have a lot of access, and I think that's what was influencing his decision with women in that aspect. Now, what you're saying about being molested can affect you below the surface and below the skin and
some meticulous
and your back and your thoughts that are deep down. I'm sure it has to affect how they look at gay people or how they look at molestation. Because if you were molested, it would seem to me that you would have empathy when you hear about someone else being molested, especially if they were in a similar situation that you were molested in. You know what I'm saying? So if I'm Common and yeah, my such and such family friend did this and did that to me, then I hear about it happening to another little boy that's 9 years old and in the same predicament I was in, my heart will go out to him. I can see that. But I think some people interpret it and let their emotions come out in a different way, like you said. Whereas if they are molested, they may feel like they're gay or supposed to be gay, and they have that inner turmoil, and then you have a lot of men going around punching gay people because of what happened to them. So they just hate, the homophobic thing. I want to beat up gay people, gay bash, and all this little stupid stuff. So I think a lot of them people have been touched, or they've been turned on by what they saw on TV, or they have something in them where they may enjoy male on male activity, and that's why they hate that about themselves. So that's why they want to beat up gay people. Hear about these transgender people being murdered and harassed. So that would be interesting.
I can see that being the cause of why people feel the way they feel, like you said, and being violent against that group of people. So yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that's some wild
I can see that. But I thought that was a good interview. Because he really didn't have to talk about it.
Yeah, more than one. I'm sure his book has a lot more information.
Yeah, a lot more information, and maybe a little bit more in depth, because I think he had to go to counseling to kind of flesh out some of the things that he started to remember during that particular time.
And did he really remember them, or was he just pushing them back? And because I think sometimes we can push things back to a point where they're safely hidden within our own minds.
Yeah.
And then only every blue moon does something make it pop up, like that door opens.
Yeah. So he said he was in a movie where someone was being molested or raped in this movie.
Okay.
And that's what triggered the thought process.
Right. All right.
And that can happen because, like I said, it's when you did the poll, it's true. People feel very embarrassed and feel some kind of way to let somebody know there's something like that happened to them.
Oh yeah.
And it feels like it's embarrassing, but it's really not, because if you didn't do it, but the person makes you feel that way by the words they say and by how they say stuff to you. So to make sure that this situation stays safe between me and you should not share that with anybody.
I'm sharing. Well, and I was thinking that you have people who they get robbed by their accountant and they don't want to say anything because they don't want to be embarrassed. So an athlete, his accountant took $300,000 from him, or $3 million, and disappeared. And the person doesn't share it with his teammates because he doesn't want it to be looked upon as being stupid and being robbed. And next thing you know, his teammate gets robbed by the same agent. And so, you got him too? Yeah, he took that from me 3 years. Why you ain't tell me? He took that from me last week. Well, I didn't know he was your age. If you would share stuff, you can hopefully prevent and help someone else's life and the quality of the next person's life. So that's why I would tell. Now, of course, things happen and emotions come in and fear and all this kind of stuff, but you had to, give people the freedom to share things on their own time if they ever do.
Yeah.
But
and then too, you got to figure out, you don't know what the backlash is from sharing.
Right.
So that, I shared with my mom years later. Well, not years later, but
did she believe you?
She did. She did believe me, but she was really upset that I did not come to her when it happened. So it really made her mad. She wasn't mad at she wasn't. She was mad at the situation, almost like, where was I at?
She felt
that
defenseless.
she felt like I put her in this situation, and why didn't you say it then? And blah blah blah.
And she knows the person.
Yeah. And we'll just leave it there.
No, I'm just saying she knows. I mean, gonna get into that. I wouldn't dare. Yeah. But she knows the person. So now she in her head, her wheels are turning. Where was I? How come I didn't stop?
Right. How come I didn't know? She got to think about
how come my child didn't tell me. My child didn't feel comfortable enough, or she felt the fear from his words more than she felt the love from telling me. Yeah. So I understand.
So it's a lot. So when you do tell, and especially if it's a parent, now they're in a place like, where was I at? Why I wasn't safeguarded to do A, B, and C? Right. So
you have a lot of parents now that drill their kids. I talk to a lot of parents, and they talk about their young kid. They ask them all the time, did he do this? Did anybody do this? If anybody ever do that, you better tell. I don't care what they say. If they threaten you, you better tell me you did it. I hear that a lot. So naturally, every blue moon, I pull my son to the side, and he laugh. He's in that laughing and giggling stage. And I tell myself, I was serious, because sometimes people do that, or someone may try to force themselves on you, or they may try to touch you and do this and do that. But you better let me know. Well, first you better run, or you yell, or you tell them you can't do that, or whatever. We get through all of that, and I say you definitely have to tell me. But it's a process.
Yeah, and you got to continue to say that. And look, and your son is what, 9?
9.
Okay, I've been telling mine, and I think me and you talked about this before, and I told you I've been telling him since probably then, and I actually last week touched on it again, because I also want, when I see something on TV, I always want to make sure that I've gotten all angles, even if you get in the locker room, you know what I'm saying? I try to touch on everything.
Don't go too far though.
Sometimes he'll say, Mom, I know. If anybody does to come to you, I know. And I said, okay, I'm just reiterating. I don't do it as much, but I do touch on it and make sure. And me and my son's line of communication is very, very good. So he does come to me about stuff I want to hear and stuff I don't want to hear. But I'm happy about it. So you doing that is wonderful. I think all parents need to make sure they do that, because sometimes we figure we don't think about it, because we're like, oh, so-and-so wouldn't do that to mine. So, that person wouldn't do anything to mine when you're putting them in your care into somebody else's hands. I do want to tell you this, because this is funny. Because when a situation happens to you and you have a child, you're more, even more overly protective a little bit.
Right.
So I was over a friend's house, and my son at this time was probably almost 2, maybe 11 months, whatever. So I was with some friends, and he needed to be changed. So one of them, a friend of mine who's a guy, he was like, oh, I'll change him. I said, no, you ain't gotta do that. Sit here, relax. That's my well, why are you acting? He was drunk. so he really went off on me, because he felt like, how could you not trust me with your child? What do you think I'm going to do? He went there, and I was trying not to make it a big deal. Just make it, no, don't worry about it. I got it.
It's not you.
It's not you, it's me.
And I got this.
That's
all right.
But he took it to another level, to the point we had to leave. Because after I changed Tavion, words went back and forth to the point that, I'm not a fighter or anything.
Oh my goodness.
But it got.
I'm not gonna say all the jokes that came to my mind just now.
But anyway, it went too far that I had to leave, and to me, by him doing that, made me even think, then you might have done something.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You might have did something, or you're fighting me so that you could change him, so you could, all that stuff started coming into my mind after he was like fighting me on the changing thing. Like, I'm trying to be a friend to you because I know you're a single mom. I'm just trying to help you out. That's a red flag to me. So that flag means it's time for me to go. But he apologized, sometime later that he handled that incorrectly. But that was wild, that and I did that a lot. No, I'm good. I'm good. So.
Well, Common's book, is titled Let Love Have the Last Word. So if you get the opportunity, check out Common's book, autobiography. And in it, he details how he was molested. And that's it for a very serious episode of Lyrics and Lies. And a lot of lyrics and keeping it real and keeping it open and honest. And a lot of lies goes into molestation and trying to make the victim keep things secret and the threats and all that kind of stuff. I'm gonna do this to your family. I'm gonna harm this. I'm gonna do something bad to you, or your mother gonna go to jail or that. All lies. Speak up. Save a life. Help somebody else, and open up your soul, and make things easier for you once you express yourself. You don't have to hide all that stuff inside your system, all that stress build up, and who knows how it's gonna come out when they explode. So yeah, let love have the last word. And we're gonna give Shayz the last word. Shayz in the mic.
I'm out. And don't forget to check out our other videos and like, share, and subscribe.
Yeah, it doesn't hurt to subscribe and check us out at Lyrics and Lies on YouTube, on Facebook, on IG at Between My Sheets, and Shayz on the mic is Shayz with a Z _ between each word.